Hey everyone, welcome to this week's conversation. I appreciate you tuning in. My guest tonight's brought laughter and joy to fans from coast to coast and shore to shore for years. I had the opportunity to see her perform back in June, and she packed more laughs than I could count into an incredible show that night. So please welcome to the conversation that tall blonde comic, Helene Angley. Helene, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. That was a great little intro. Thank you. I
Uh,
appreciate it. Great to be here.
Well, thank you, Helene. I'll tell you, I've been looking forward to this since that night
Mm,
we met back at the end of June in Phoenixville,
mm,
and you
mm.
crushed it. And
Ah,
shout out to our mutual friend Joey Callahan for introducing us that
and
night.
Cisco for the room,
Yeah.
and Cisco who runs a great room, and that is a great room. They come to laugh. He's got a good thing going.
Oh, it was. Yeah, it really was great food. Great
Yeah,
atmosphere, and just a lot of fun. And
he's
like I
got a
said,
very dedicated crowd that comes. He brings good comics. It's all fun. Yeah.
no, absolutely. And one of the things that I'm going to come back to is your ability to interact with the crowd the way you did, because that
Mm,
really impressed me. And it kind of
mm,
transcends generations, which I thought was
mm.
really neat too. But I wanted to just, if we could, take a look back at, if we were to take a look back to when it was that you first discovered you had this ability to make people laugh.
Um, Well, I mean, I always was the class clown, not a good student, all that nonsense that goes with all of it. I always loved comedy. I would rewrite jokes when I was little, from punchlines that were in the newspaper. But it wasn't until I was 40 years old that I kind of hit that wall and I went, oh my God, if I'm going to go do this, I better do it now.
Hmm.
And so I did, and kind of just started with small classes that were offered in my area on improv. And I learned improv first and that interaction and being very physical. And then I realized I really didn't want to be part of a team, that I wanted to have my own voice. So I went directly to stand up after that. Did an audition for The Last Comic Standing season 4 at Gotham. Got my first round pass through, and then really grew up at Gotham. They offered classes, they offered a program, and it was just, I grew up there. I spent the next 4 years just working and getting those first 4 years under my belt at Gotham in New York City.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. We appreciate each and every one of you. And we also appreciate our first and longest running sponsor of the show, Tom and his team of insurance professionals at the Malin Agency. If world class customer service and doing business with someone you can trust is important to you, give Tom and his team a call today for all your insurance needs. Wow, that's I've never been there, but man, what a phenomenal place to
It,
get
it,
your
it,
start and learn for sure.
yeah, for sure. It was a great time.
Yeah. Now, was there a moment as you were, you said you started with improv, you go into stand up, you wanted to do it on your own. Was there a moment when something just kind of clicked in your gut where like, man, this is it. I just absolutely love this.
I knew that going in.
Hmm. Okay. Wow.
Huh. I knew I had to do it. It was just kind of bubbling to the surface at that point. It was always something in my DNA that I just had to, have it come to fruition.
Wow.
So I went in fully knowing that it was a lifelong journey.
That's that's amazing. It's great to hear, Helene, because I took my first class back in January of this year, and I did it just to have some fun and maybe have some content for the show. But halfway through the first class, I was like, oh my God, I love this. I mean, I've always been a
Yeah,
little bit of a goofball and had fun, whenever I could, but
right.
man, there was just something about it. So,
Yeah, there is always no matter how tired you can be, the moment I step foot on stage,
yeah.
it just, it just switches and I have a great time and I
Yeah.
just love doing it. Yeah.
Is
I can
there
be
any,
exhausted, but the moment you start, there it is.
and I can identify on a very limited scale, I can definitely identify with that. And one of the things that I'm always curious about is there anything that matches the feeling of either that rush you get when you hit the stage or that feeling you get when a joke lands, especially if maybe it's a new one and you see it land?
Anything else besides that that matches that?
Yeah.
Like standing, like getting down a ski slope without falling kind of concept, which
I
is
guess that'd
pretty
be
much,
pretty cool too.
yeah, that works for me. And I'm like, wow, that was a rush and I didn't
Yeah.
fall. I don't know if anything else can match because there's so much going on stage, right?
Yeah.
There's the memorization. I always look at it as two parts of my brain are working at the same time. One is, understanding all the words I have that I want to say and what I've memorized and what I want to improv on. And the other half is reading the room,
Ah,
is understanding what the crowd's doing, who can I pick on, who can I reach into, where's my timing, where I think so when you get up on stage, you have to be fully alert of not only what you have to perform, but what is happening at the same time at all times.
and that goes back to something I mentioned early on, Helene, and that was so evident to me that night in Phoenixville. And it's evident to anyone who's seen, whether it's your dry bar special or any of the clips of you online. It really is seamless. How long did it take you to be that comfortable to sort of multitask with multi-brain things, as you said, going on?
Would say, I'll give Gotham this credit. When I first started there and taking classes, they said in your first 4 years, you should have like maybe 5 to 7 minutes. And then at 7 years, you should have like a solid 12 to 15. And I thought that's ridiculous. And then they were absolutely right. And so I think it's around between that time of 4 to 7 where you have a solid, say, 10-minute set and
Hmm.
then you know it so well that you can relax and enjoy the crowd and
Hmm.
reach in. But reach again, you have to be careful because you never know what somebody's going to answer. So you have to be prepared at all times with the correct punchline, no matter what they say. So it is very nerve-wracking. It does take years to develop that comfort. So it's not overnight in any way, right? That's
Yeah.
just you don't become a dentist overnight.
Yeah.
You take years of practice. And I look at comedy kind of the same way. It takes years of practice.
It is. I'll tell you what, one of the things that I have so much more respect for, Helene, and I've always been a huge fan of stand-up comedy. I've been blessed to have dozens and dozens of some of the best in the business on the show over the years and listening to their stories. But when I had to sit down and try to come up with the first or second week of class, 90 seconds and then 3 minutes. And I
Hmm.
was like, oh my God, I've written hundreds of songs in my lifetime and could get through that process pretty seamlessly. I had no idea how difficult it could be, how much fine tuning there would be. So, my respect level for people that do what you do, especially at the
Hmm.
level you do it, not
Hmm.
that it wasn't already high, but it's exponentially higher just because of that appreciation of what it takes to put together 5 minutes. Like you said, it could take years.
Every word. You end up analyzing every word. What could be a funnier word, what could be cut short, what could be, put together. So it is a constant monitoring of
Yeah.
of the writing. But I mean, comedy comes from the true source. It's all honesty. And I think that's what makes, I mean, the crowd will smell a lie in a heartbeat. You know, I've had comics that were, let's just say, heavier set, and they said, I ran 5 miles, and they were like, it doesn't, that never works. I'm like, because if you said you ran 30 feet and were winded, then people would laugh. But to say, like it just has to be honest. It just has to be complete honesty, or the crowd they'll smell you out in a heartbeat of a lie, and they won't laugh. So that's all I can give to people is just be honest about yourself, which
Yeah.
takes years to come forward with, right? So
No,
again, it's
absolutely.
just practice. Yeah.
Yeah, and if you were to look back at some of those early years at Gotham and just say the early years of your career in general, what would you say are some of your favorite memories?
I have favorite, well, you always learn, right? Every time
Mm.
you're on stage, you learn something. So I learned two things. I learned what joke might be funny for me that I love that nobody got, and I had to let it go. So I learned
Wow.
that. One of my favorites was well, too, Gotham put me on live TV. They put me on their Access, Gotham Live Access TV. So that was really a privilege to be part of that. but they do a lot of bringer shows, and you have some you got to bring people into New York City to have you, watch you so you can get your 7 minutes on stage. So that's a lot of work, is to bring people in. But I had a lot of friends that came out for me. So there's a lot of good memories of that when I first started, but I
Wow.
learned a lot of from the business just being there.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like just an amazing place to learn, like you said, the business part. And the other thing that I find fascinating is whether it's comedy or music, there's kind of the business side. There's so many aspects of it that go
Mm.
on before anyone ever takes the stage that people don't realize. And the
I
preparation
always
and
laughed
getting,
at, I used to say to Joey Callahan, good friend of both of us, right? And I said to Joey, I said, wow, we are the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to show business, is stand-up comics. And Joey's like, no, musicians are below us because they have to share the $50 we make.
that's a great point. But
I, I
it's
was like, that is it in a nutshell, I mean,
yeah.
because it's not for the money. And believe me, there's very little glory, but there is that satisfaction that you've made people laugh. And that's basically what you have to go home on.
Yeah, and I think that one thing I learned early on was the level of difficulty compared to, say, the musician or the band. Like there were times when I'd be singing, whether it was to tracks or with a band, and if I was maybe forgetting as we're going through a chord progression, it was like, oh, what were the lyrics in the second verse? Those chords could help me remember it sometimes. There was something that would
Mhm.
trigger, and I'd be like, I'd remember it. When you're doing stand up and it's just you and the microphone, there's no backup band, there's no tracks, there's no nothing.
It is all memories. It is. And you have to make it look like it's just rolling off your tongue for the first time.
Yeah.
So there's that improv aspect to it, or make it look fresh and new. Um, but it is putting things in like little folders, and then you just put a title to that folder and you remember the title to all the folders, and what's in it is all the jokes. But you have to remember the order of the folders, is how I work it.
No, that's great. I'm taking some mental notes here as you're sharing some of these words of wisdom, by the way. And that you actually just segued into what I was going to ask you about next. But first a comment, and that is, in addition to, your routine and your material being incredibly funny, it's also incredibly relatable. And you speak about these real life experiences, whether it's with your kids or your husband. And so my question is, how are you able to translate those real life experiences in the way that you do that everyone can relate to? I mean, and like I said, it transcends generations.
It's I really appreciate you asking, because it is not a single journey. I have to say that my husband is extremely funny, and he helps me banter and write that material. My kids were funny. I mean, where that material comes from is true life experiences that we've all kind of melted together. When they said something stupid, we all kind of worked on that punchline together. It's been a long journey where I have a lot of good muse around me, that I can share that. But I'm not saying that I don't write in a vacuum, that there's something funny that's happened to me that I want to write about, but I won't know on that reaction until I get on stage. To
Yeah.
your point, where I have to really like, oh, did that hit? No, that didn't hit. Okay. Then I have to make a note of that and try to rewrite. But I do need to have a conversation with someone to like, how does this line best work? Your hairdresser is a great person to run stuff by, you know. Like, can't do it with a dentist because you can't
Yeah.
talk, but they always want to know a joke. But there are certain people that you use as your sounding board.
Yeah, so if you're getting ready, like it was a few years back, you did the Dry Bar special, which is phenomenal,
Mm,
by the way. So, folks,
mm,
if you haven't seen it, go and watch Helene's Dry Bar special. It's amazing. And one of the things that always impresses me with the Dry Bar specials is your set has to be clean,
yeah.
which I've noticed can be a challenge, I think,
Mm,
from a writing standpoint. But
mm.
what does your process look like in terms of getting ready for a special or getting ready for, say, a longer show or new material or putting together that new half hour or hour?
I mean, that's a twofolded. I mean, if you don't mind me addressing clean, like being a
Sure.
clean comic, because there is that moment where you are in your career and you have to make that decision to be clean or not clean.
Hmm.
I mean, because clean can still mean maybe you get like two shits in a dam, you know, but that's about it, right? So there's that clean comic person, and been a lot of people that have made their living doing that. Jim Gaffigan, Jerry Seinfeld, right?
Yeah.
Just to name the old school that are still around today. I mean, they kind of set that bar for what clean comedy is.
Yeah.
And clean comedy gets you a lot of work, gets you a lot of corporate work, gets you on Dry Bar, gets you on Fallon. They get you certain places. But if that's not you, then don't do it. But I had to make that decision. Like, I'm going to stick to being a clean comic. So
Hmm.
there is that part of your persona that you have to understand as well. You
Yeah,
know, yeah.
uh,
But to,
that's
to prepare for that, yeah, it is. It's huge. I mean, when it's something that important as like being live on Gotham Access TV, that was literally live TV. I mean, I literally spent every word going over it for hours, hours and hours, just to make sure I was on time and did exactly. And the same with Dry Bar. You just have to have that solitude and
yeah.
confidence, and but you really have to know it. You just have to know it. Yeah.
And it comes through because like you said, it's no one would know that those words were rehearsed and practiced and because they just roll off the tongue as if you're having a conversation.
The more you know it, the more comfortable you are with it, and that allows you to dig into
Yeah.
that audience. That's
Yeah.
that's what allows that freedom because you know where you are, whatever they say, you know where you're going to land,
Yeah.
and you're okay with that. So it just again, practice. How do you get to Broadway? Practice, 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 right?
Yes,
It's
something.
it's so old school, but it's so true.
Yeah, the basics apply everywhere, including in this business, and it is a
Mm,
lot of work, and it's all that stuff that happens behind the scenes before anyone
mm,
ever hits the stage. So,
yeah,
I appreciate you sharing that. Now, I wanted to touch on your website, on your comedy calendar. I took a look, and for our
yeah.
viewers watching, where can we expect to see you? Where are you going to be? Where can we find you over these next few weeks and few months?
I started working cruise ships, so that's been kind of fun. So I'm on a lot of cruise ships. Started that a couple years ago, but I produce shows at two wineries. One at Old York Cellars up in Ringo's, just north of Flemington. They have food and wine and comedy twice a month. And then the other one is down in Hamilton, New Jersey, Sherritt Winery, which is just above Atlantic City. And again, we do there once a month on a Thursday night. And so I not it's fun for me because I'm just the host, but I bring in all my friends. I think you're with me as well that later this month in August, and I get to bring in all my friends and to see them and have them perform for me, which is really fun. So I'm the host there, which is a nice treat. Yeah, so I'm always in Old York Cellars or at Share at least once a month, and then I'm everywhere else, right? Everywhere else.
Yeah, and that brings me to my next question, which is, and by the way, I am looking forward to seeing you at the Sherritt Winery on August 28th and
Yeah,
appreciate
thanks.
that
Yeah, no,
opportunity.
I'm happy to have you. Yeah,
Yeah, and it's going to be a blast, and I'm
yeah.
practicing. As soon as we're done this conversation, I'm going back to practicing.
Well, the thing is that, I mean, I try to give people that are new in the business, the newbies is always considered anyone 4 years and younger, right? That's a newbie in the business. And I mean, if a newbie can't be at a winery on a Thursday night, like where else are you going to get stage time? And it's not a bringer. You don't have to bring anyone. You just get to come and do your set, which is kind of a nice break for
Yeah.
newbies who are always trying to do these bringer shows.
No, it's again very much appreciated, and
Yeah,
also the fact that you said you get to be with your friends and you mentioned me, so thank you for
yeah,
that too. So
of course.
now, I also know you mentioned about, doing cruises, and I've spoken to
Uh-huh.
quite a few people that enjoy being out on cruises, and I know sometimes it's there can be pros and cons and different things to whether it's
There's
touring up and down the road or out on the ship. So what would you say is your favorite aspect of whether it's on a ship or on the road, or what are some of your favorite things about that?
um it depends. Like the ships are totally different than being on the road. I mean, you're kind of held captive
Yeah.
on the ship, and and I mean, there's pros and cons to working on cruise ships. Uh, the bonus for me was to have the opportunity who really look at my material and because I perform two completely different 45-minute clean sets.
Hmm.
And that I
Wow.
didn't think I had that until I really took the time to look at that. And there it was. And so it was really like a nice achievement. And I do in front of like the main theater, so somewhere around 500 to 700 people, I'll do completely different 45-minute sets. And once you do that, then I'm a complete known person and I can't even go to the bathroom or stand in the Lido line for a salad without people like, hey, I got a joke for you. So it's like that's great. I haven't heard that one before. So you got to be polite and like there's nowhere to hide kind of
Yeah.
concept, but it's but everyone enjoys it and everyone laughs. So that's been a big achievement for me and I'm very happy to be doing that. I get to bring my husband and we get to travel the world and I work a little
Yeah.
bit. So it's great. It's a great gig for a while.
No, that's fantastic. And like I said, I was pleasantly surprised at some of the folks I've talked to who really do enjoy it, other than,
Yeah.
kind of the captive crowd and not really being able to hide or whatever. But there's
Mm.
definitely some pros to it. And if you're willing to do it, there can be some work,
Yeah.
for you to
I
get as
mean,
well.
being clean has helped me with that. Again, being a clean comic has helped me get
Uh,
into that business. And then they will offer sometimes like a 1030 PG-13. Ooh, you can
hmm,
have your, ooh, you can, you can have a few swear words for 30 minutes. So it depends. Each ship is different and you don't know until you arrive what they want from you. So there's always that aspect of like
wow.
being prepared for the business. So it's all, you
Yeah.
know, uh, it's a journey.
No, that's
I
just,
don't think comedy's for the faint of heart. I mean, people that want to, and being on the road, I mean,
yeah.
there's nothing better than having a great show that's only, say, 30 minutes or an hour from your house, right? Because comedy's not in your backyard.
Mm.
You got to get on the road, you got to travel. So to have great shows that are, you know, able to go out, entertain, and be back at a decent hour is very, very nice. That part. Being a road comic is just as difficult, right? To
Sure.
drive or you have to spend overnight or, so it's not for the faint of heart.
No,
You are out of the house.
in my 7.5 months in, not that I'm counting or anything, I can already tell from just the people I've gotten to know and from what I've seen and learned. So I can definitely see that it's not for the faint of heart. But it is also, it's, as someone just said to me a couple weeks ago, they said it's terrifying and exhilarating all at the same time at certain
Absolutely.
aspects.
Perfectly said. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. What else can you do that's terrifying
I,
and
I had like
exhilarating?
someone, I had someone who had studied psychology, and they said it was the anxiety, the anticipation
Oof.
that we go through. We're we're so excited that we're going to get on stage, but it's the anticipation and the anxiety that goes with that. I'm like, wow, I didn't, you could put a wrapper around everything, but
Yeah.
that's the wrapper. Anxiety, the anticipation,
Wow.
anxiety. Wow.
That
Okay.
is, yeah, that is so true,
We
Helene.
signed up for that too, so that's kind of bizarre.
Yeah.
Let me go
Yeah,
do
that's
that.
that's a great point. That's a great point. So
Right.
I have two last questions for you. One kind of looking back and one kind of looking ahead. So looking back at your career thus far, what would you say you're most proud of?
Mm. One was I did a comedy for Gotham Access TV. I got on that live where they had Gotham Live on Access TV. I had to win a contest to do that and then an audition. And that was really nice of them to do
Wow.
that. And then, to receive that dry bar was just a huge moment for me. Because it just has such a great impact going forward as that people trust that you're clean. So it does a
Mm.
lot for a career. Um, and it's not easy to get in, and that makes it really a challenge as well. But I have to say those two things. And I think my favorite is also to have my family come see me every once in a while and we laugh or we get to travel together and I do comedy and we're all there together laughing about jokes that we all wrote together. So
Yeah.
that's a big highlight for me is like my kids remember, oh, I remember that joke, and it's still there, you know.
Well, and I have to say, Helene, that night in Phoenixville at the Great American Pub back in June, I met your husband Tom, and I don't know
Yeah.
that there was anybody laughing any harder than he. Like he was
Uh,
sitting right next to me, and he was having a
yeah,
great old time, like he was hearing him
yeah,
for the
it's
first
fun.
time.
Yeah, it's fun. It's a journey. That's what I mean. Like, because they're all part of it, right?
Yeah,
We've all made that joke together somehow.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
that's phenomenal. I'm gonna have to have a
yeah.
conversation with my kids, I think, at some point too,
Kids
because
say
they are.
stupid stuff, man. They say stupid stuff. Write it down. Have a
Well,
basket where you
the
just write stuff down and you keep it in a basket.
the conversation will be more about which stupid stuff can I use.
Yeah. Now, let me tell you, I did have that conversation. My daughter, she'd said a lot of stupid stuff, and at like 13, she really got angry. She was like, you're making fun of me on stage. Stop that. And I had to remember, like, oh, I'm a mom first. Like that
Yeah.
really upset her. And okay. And she was like, stop making fun of me. So I had to take all of that material out of my set. And then at 17, she was like, okay, you can put it back in. And I'm like, thank you. But so now we laugh about it. But at the time, it was hilarious. But I had to realize, like, oh, this might hurt somebody's feelings. So it's
That's
like I was looking at it from a joke standpoint, but
sure.
I had to remember that, okay, there was somebody behind that joke, right?
No, absolutely. That's
So you
why
almost
I
have to ask permission before you make fun of them on stage at the same time. I'm going to make fun of that, right? You're okay with that? You have to, you know, you need
that's
that.
why I said I'm going to have a conversation first and
Yes,
see
you
how
need
that
their
goes.
little approval. Yeah.
For sure. Okay, so my last question, Helene, is the one where I look forward just a little bit, and that is we talked about what you're most proud of. I'd like to just look ahead a little bit and ask you, what would you say would be your ultimate definition of success? What would that look like for you?
For me right now, I am riding it.
Hmm.
I am. I have actually, for me personally, and everyone has a different brass ring, but I've grasped my brass ring. I have. I'm doing cruise ships, which was for me everything I ever wanted, and I get to
Wow.
travel with, you know, my husband and have that kind of moment of, in front of 700 people and to do just that kind of laughter and have all those people with me at that moment, just enjoying a laugh. There's no greater fulfillment than that.
Yeah.
So, and whether I do it on a cruise ship or whether I do it in my rooms at the wineries or whether I do it for the Shriners out in Pennsylvania, it just that for me is knowing my place. And I think what I don't do is put myself like having having something that might be unachievable for me this age, where it's like then I don't want to seem like I'm unsatisfied. I'm
Wow.
really enjoying the moment right now.
Wow. That is, as I'm listening to you say that, and also just the passion that's coming through as you're saying it, to me, that really is the ultimate definition of success. You're doing what you love to do. You've got the
Yeah.
people you love with you while you're doing it. I literally can't see it getting any better than that.
There's sometimes I drive home from a show and I just go, oh my God, I had, whether it was 50 or 100 or how many, but you just go, I had 50 people. We all were just laughing
Yeah.
at just silly stuff.
Yeah.
And just to have that moment of laughter together, it's just, there's nothing, that's a huge achievement. It's a
Yeah.
huge achievement, you
Yes.
know? And so to just I drive home on that. I drive home very happy on that moment that I did my job.
There you go. Yeah. Like I said right up front, you're bringing laughter and joy to people everywhere that you go. And
Yeah,
I can't think of a better calling or
I can't
avocation than
either,
that.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's great. It's a really weird piece of show business, but it is that, and
It
so
is. Well, Helene, I appreciate you taking the time to join me with all that
thank
you
you
have
so
going
much, Bill.
on.
This has been great. I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
enjoyed every minute of the conversation. This episode will air just a few days before I get to see you again in person in Hamilton, so I'm looking forward to that too.
Okay.
And I wish you all the best, and thanks again for joining me.
Oh, thank you. Thanks for having me, Bill. A pleasure.
And folks, thank you for watching. Without you, this wouldn't be possible. We'll see you next time. This week's episode has been brought to you by Doherty and Company Insurance Services for all your business and personal insurance needs. our friends at Tennis Addiction in Exton, PA, and the Malin Agency, where exceeding expectations is how they do business.